Alright guys, welcome back to another manga review. I am your Ice Dragon, Rayron VR. Today we're going to be looking at Blacktorch Volume 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back here and see a little summary we got and see what we got in store for us. Alright. Jiro Asuma is descended from a long line of ninja and he can talk to animals. One day he rescues a unique black cat named Ragu, a supernatural being, and is dragged into a mystical war. Although he may appear rough and tumble, Jiro Asuma's compensation side emerges when it comes to the furry creatures he can communicate with. But Jiro's soft spot for animals gets him in major trouble when a suspicious stray cat fuses with him, granting him exponential power, but also, or exceptional power, but also dragging him into humanity's hidden battle against powerful demons. All right, it is made or published by Viz Media. It is rated T for teen. T for older teen, because T plus here. Older teen for this particular manga. All right, guys. So with that, let's get into Volume 1. With it, guys, I am going to talk about spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to watch this video at a later time. But with that, we get into our main protagonist, which his name is Jiro. We get to see a special ability that he is able to talk to animals. And as a result of that, he is able to do, super interesting things that not your typical human can do. But with that, he is talking to a particular crow that says that he needs to come save a cat. This particular cat is this little feline up here on his shoulders by the name of Ragu. As the story progresses, we start to see that Ragu is not your typical cat, and he is quite surprised that he's able to talk to a human here. And they have quite a chemistry. They butt heads a lot. The cat is definitely wants to be solo in his journeys, and he doesn't want to let Jiro into his life, essentially. But as we go on through the story, we start to understand that Ragu is a mononoke, which is basically a supernatural demon, essentially. And Ragu here is a special kind because he is considered the Black Star of Doom. So on the little back on Ragu's, there is a particular white star symbol that indicates that he is this special, particular supernatural being. And we go into some battles with these particular demons. So there's other demons that are roaming the IRL world, and Ragu tries to fight these particular demons on his own, but then our wonderful protagonist comes along and saves the cat again. But this time, this particular demon was able to almost kill our main protagonist right from the get-go. But then our Mononoke comes in, and he fuses with our human here, Jiro, to basically save him and also have these abilities of supernaturalism when it comes to fighting. So it's an interesting trope. So I've seen another story do this, and that is by Chainsaw Man. I haven't done the review for that one yet because that's actually going to be on the Mangaverse podcast, but I have finished reading Volume 1 of Chainsaw Man, and it's very similar in how our protagonists get their powers. It is this fusion of abilities from a demon-esque entity into the body of our, human being, essentially. And originally, I thought this was inspired by Chainsaw Man, but looking at the copyright date, this actually came out first. This came out in 2016, and Chainsaw Man came after 2018. And so I originally thought it was by the same author, so I looked at the authors, and nope, totally different authors and writers. And so it could be a good coincidence that maybe Chainsaw Man was inspired by Blacktorch. I don't know. But anywho, again, that's just me being inserting assumptions with that. But anyways, it's just interesting that we have this new trope of, animal fuses with human, human gets abilities. So if done and told well, then I can believe it. It's just, again, if I see the same trope over and over and over again, they're going to have to do a very unique style in order to differentiate themselves from another story, to make it unique, to make it their own. And when I was reading this versus Chainsaw Man, they do have their own independencies when it comes to the abilities and the consequences of that. I can't go too much into Chainsaw Man because I want to save it for the live stream. But in this one, our entity here, which is basically Ragu is still alive in this particular version of that trope of fusion abilities. And so, the best way I can actually describe this is basically what reminds me of as Venom. You have this alien entity that fuses with a human being behind the scenes and internally, and then when the ability is needed, then Ragu can come out in the cat form and give the abilities to our main protagonist, Gyro. So this reminds me a lot of Venom in many different ways, but I think it's told a lot better. So anyways, our two now colleagues here, they are captured by the Bureau of Espionage, which is basically a secret government organization that deals with the supernatural, essentially. And we get introduced to this mythical war. Basically, you have this another dimension. It's only labeled as the Shadow World. There's really no particular name. If there was a name, I probably missed it in this volume. But we get introduced to a demon plane dimension, and they are creeping into the human world, IRL world, and so forth, Earth, essentially. And so we get kind of the spin up that right now the Bureau does not trust our protagonist just yet because, he's been fused with this very powerful Mononoke of the Black Star of Doom. And so we go through, we begin to see new characters come into play. We've got Rozoku and Ichika. Ichika, excuse me. She does not trust Mono-Oaks at all, especially ones that have been fused like this, because she's got a backstory of, losing her loved ones to a Mononoke. So she joined the espionage so that way, for intensive purposes, to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so we're introduced with these new characters. And so he is basically interrogated. And thanks to Ragu's abilities, he's able to escape. And they are... I'm trying to think here. So they escape the interrogation. And then they find themselves fighting more of these monsters. And then they realize that they're going to have to really team up to really deal with these threats. And so after that, he goes to basically his grandpa, and come to find out the grandfather was also part of these ninjas. Before the espionage actually came together, there's a group of ninjas that help protect the real world plane versus the shadow world from these particular demons. And so he trains up Jiro in a quite epic kung fu montage fighting. It was kind of cool because it's like old school kung fu meeting new supernatural fighting, and really trains and toughens up our main character. And again, we get some more backstory of this whole mythical war that's happening between the Mononokes and the human beings, essentially. And so once the training has completed, he goes back to the Bureau, and the Bureau still treats him like a prisoner. They handcuff him and everything. Ichika still doesn't trust Gyro, but then, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and so a demon comes out of nowhere, and then a demon-esque Mono-Oak comes out and attacks them in this particular van that was transporting our main characters. And so they team up, and with all three of them, we've got Ragu, Jiro, and Ichika. They were able to take down this demon. And so our main kind of boss, Roysuko, He reminds me of I'm trying to remember his name, and the name escapes me. But anyways, he is kind of the head of the organization, and he's talking to these higher agencies. They're like 5 just faces essentially. It's very supernatural type of image, and I'll show you guys here. So we got these guys right here. Kind of remind me from Transformers a little bit, from Transformers movie from Gen 1. But we got these so-called higher beings here, and he basically convinces them that, hey, we need to create this special group. And so, Roshiku kind of reminds me of Nick Fury from Avengers. And so he wants to get these special group together to tackle, the demon threat that's happening on Earth. And so they call this, but those guys reluctantly agree because, he can, Ragu is very powerful, and they can use that ability to help them, be an ally in this war that's happening. And so they call this special group Blacktorch. Go ahead. And so that's where the name of this group comes into play. So with the guys, that's pretty much the quick overview of Volume 1 of Blacktorch. I liked it. Again, it really reminds me of Venom. The entity fusion coming together, and then, our protagonist here gets the ability, but then he still has to go through the journey of understanding how his powers work. He does get his butt kicked a couple of times. He's not a so-called Mary Sue when he gets these abilities. He still has to train. He still has got to learn how to adapt and learn now how to work as a team, to work with his espionage group to fight off these demons. So, yeah, it just reminds me of Venom, and this definitely reminds me of Chainsaw Man. So when I go to review Chainsaw Man, there is a very similar trope of demon fusion to get abilities. So, but with that, guys, that's my quick review of Blacktorch Volume 1. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you have any suggestions for any manga volumes that I should review, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But with that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.